Hey guys, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me. And today I'm gonna quickly finish the story I started yesterday. The story was The Hand That Realized the World. Enjoy the reading journey. Let's begin. She had on a low neck dress covered with silver spangles and diamond rings and ear bobs. Her arms was bare, and she was using a desk telephone with one hand and drinking tea with the other. Well, boys, says she after a bit, what is it? I told her in as few words as possible what we wanted for bail and the price we could pay. Those Western appointments, says she, are easy. Let me see now, says she. Who would put that through for us? No use fooling with territorial delegates. I guess, says she, that Senator Snipes would be about the man. He's from somewhere in the West. Let's see how he stands on my private menu card. She takes some papers out of a pigeonhole with the letter S over it. Yes, says she. He's marked with a star. That means ready to serve. Now let's see. Age 55. Married twice. Presbyterian. Likes blondies. Tolstoy, poker, and stew terrapin. Sentimental. A third bottle of wine. Yes, she goes on. I'm sure I can have your friend, Mr. Bummer, appointed minister to Brazil. Humble, says I, and United States Marshal was the birth. Oh, yeah, says Mrs. Avery. I have so many deals of this sort, I sometimes get them confused. Give me all the memoranda you have of this case, Mr. Peters, and come back in 4 days. I think it can be arranged by then. So me and Andy goes back out to our hotel and waits. Andy walks up and down and chews the left end of his mustache. A woman of high intellect and perfect beauty is a rare thing, Jeff, says he. As rare, says I, as an omelette made from the eggs of the fabulous bird known as the epidermis. Epidermis? What? Says I. A woman like that, says Andy. Oh, to lead a man to the highest positions of opulence and fame. I misdubbed, says I. If any woman ever helped a man to secure a job any more than to have his meals ready promptly and spread a report that the other candidate's wife had once been a shoplifter, they are no more adopted for business and politics, says I. Then Algernon Charles Swinburne is to be floor manager at one of Chunk Connor's annual balls. I know, says I to Andy, that sometimes a woman seems to step out into the calcimine light as they charge the fares of her man's political job. But how does it come out? Say, they have a neat little berth somewhere as foreign consul of record to Afghanistan or lockkeeper on the Delaware and Raritan Canal, One day, this man finds his wife putting on her overshoes and 3 months supply of birth seed into the canary's cage. Socks files, he asks, with a kind of hopeful light in his eye. No, Arthur, says she. Washington. We're wasted. We're wasted here, says she. You ought to be today extraordinary to the court of Sunbird Bridget or head porter of the island of Puerto Rico. I'm going to see about it. Then this lady, I says to Andy, moves against the authorities at Washington with her baggage and munitions consisting of 5 dozen indiscriminating letters written by her by a member of the cabinet when she was 15. A letter of introduction from King Leopold to the Smithsonian Institution and a pink silk costume with canary-colored spots. Well, and then what? I goes on. She has the letters printed in the evening papers that match her costume. She lectures at the informal tea given in the palm room of the B&O depot, and Dan calls on the president, the ninth assistant secretary of Commerce and Labor, the first aide-de-camp of the Blue Room, and an identified colored man awaiting there to grasp her by the hands and feet. They carry her out to SWB Street and leave her on the cellar door. That ends it. The next time we hear of her, she's writing postal cards to the Chinese minister, asking him to get Arthur a job in a tea store. Then, says Andy, you don't think Mrs. Avery will land the marshalship for Bill? I don't, says I. I do not wish to be a skeptic, but a doubt if she can do as well as you and me could have done. I don't agree with you, says Andy. I'll bet you she does. I'm proud of having a higher opinion of the talent and the powers of negotiation of ladies. We was back at Mrs. Avery's hotel. At Mrs. Avery's hotel at the time she appointed. She was looking pretty and fine enough, as far as that went, to make any man let her name every officer in the country. As far as that went, to make any man let her name every officer in the country. Let her name, okay. But I hadn't much faith in looks, so I was certainly surprised when she pulled out a document with the Great Seal of the United States on it, and William Henry Humble in a fine big hand on the back. You might have had in the next day, boys, says Miss Avery, smiling. I hadn't the slightest trouble in getting it, says she. I just asked for it, that's all. Now, I'd like to talk to you a while, she goes on, but I'm awfully busy, and I know you don't excuse me. I've got I've got an ambassadorship, two consulates, and a dozen other minor applications to look after. I can hardly find time to sleep at all. You're you're all give you all you will you will give my compliments to Mr. Humble when you get home, of course. Well, I handed her 500. I handed her 500, which is which she pitched into her desk drawer without counting. I put Bell's appointment in my pocket, and me and Andy made our audits. Audits. We started back for the territory the same day. We whirred. We whirred Bill. Job landed. Get the tall glasses ready. We wired Bill. Job landed. Get the tall glasses ready. And we felt pretty good. And joshed me all the way about how little I knew about women. All right, says I. I'll admit that she surprised me. But it's the first time I ever knew one of them of one of them to manipulate a piece of business on time without getting it bung- bungled up in some way, says I. Down about the age of Arkansas, I got out Bill's appointment and looked it over, and then I handed it to Andy to read. And I read it, but didn't add any remarks to my silence. The paper was for Bill, all right, and a genuine document, but it appointed him postmaster of Dade City, FLA. Me and Andy got off the train at Little Rock and sent Bill's appointment to him by mail. Then we struck northeast towards Lake Superior. I never saw Bill Humble after that. That was the good story, guys, and see you tomorrow. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.